Petroff founded Switch Society, a membership-based circular wardrobe now scaling through franchising, but its technology was held together by disconnected tools and spreadsheets. She couldn't afford the custom operating system the business needed, so she built it herself with AI.
How does the circular wardrobe run? Like, you've got this process, you're getting 10,000 items coming in a month, so many different things. It sounds like there's a lot of moving parts. What runs underneath to keep it all going? Do you have warehouses? Do you have tech? Like, what happens?
Yeah, so because I'm really good at, I'm a fifth generation entrepreneur. And so I was raised by people that are just like get shit done kind of people, right? Like we just do it. And it seems very easy and natural. And other people are like, you did what? And so it's very messy, right? And it's cleaner now. Like, it's so funny. I just hired somebody a couple of months ago, and she runs a good chunk of, she runs our busiest days of the store.
Right.
And the things that she doesn't have to go through now, I'm just like telling her, like, my gosh, you don't have to do this and this, and this is the way that it was used to be. And she was just like, what? Right. So it's just so funny how in this space, right, we're iterating and pivoting so fast over the last 3 years that there are massive changes that happen. But in the last 6 months, we have, and this is the thing that I'm really excited about, probably more than most things, and what we're talking about, AI has allowed us to change the trajectory of technology and the way that it supports us, right? When we created this, as we were creating this category, right, and didn't know all the things that we didn't know, our tech stack was just a nightmare. And this system didn't talk to this system, and this system didn't talk to this system.
Yep.
And then it was duct taped together with like Google Sheets and this and that, right? Like all of these, different things. And we didn't have the budget to go and hire a developer to create a custom software solution for us. We didn't have, I love technology, but I didn't have the skill set to do all of those things, right? And so the thing that we have done now is I ended up finding this group and learning what vibe coding was and how I could go through the process and create technology that would support what we're doing. And I always say it was such a gift to me. And for so long, I've been frustrated with this for a little over 3 years, like trying to find, and I've tried to find, like, I've spoken to developers. I hired a guy who was, a college student, and he was this and that. And like, I mean, I've had, multiple people that I have worked with that, and then it fell flat. They dropped the ball. Right. All of these things. And it was like, what is going on here? Why can't I figure this out? It was because I was supposed to build it. Right. Like, it was because
it wasn't supposed to be an out of the box solution. It wasn't supposed to be created by someone else.
No, what we have now is so freaking badass.
Love it.
It is so good. Like, it is so good. It would have never been this if somebody else besides me would have built it. And that part I just love. And it allowed the creative part of me to be combined with the love of technology and know that technology can do some amazing things. But without this process, like, we were losing a lot of money, right? And I knew that, but I didn't really know that because we didn't have a system that could track it the way that we needed to track it. So even just in the last 3 months, I have found thousands of dollars a month from building this system that now is back into our pocket, essentially, right? Like, it's back into generating revenue for us again. And there's just been some really great accountability for me, great accountability for my team, support for them. I was asking them to do things that they have no business. they're not good at this. They need technology to do this for them so that they can be doing the thing that they're really, really good at. So we deliberately built it, right? Or I was able to deliberately build it so that it's supporting the human part of our business, not taking over any of that. The big transformation for us is in the way in which the technology that I built, it supports our whole, from the back end, right? All the back end systems and all the things that we do when members bring their bags in and drop them off, and we do the inventory and all of that, to the front end, all the user interface and the way that the member dashboard works and how they see their points, and all of the different ways. And now we're at we launched that in February. And so it's not even been that long, but now it's been stable for several months, and we're now adding really fun new features that it feels like. And we get such great feedback from our members, like, oh my gosh, I just saw this new thing and I love that, and I love this. And the other thing that the technology has allowed me to do is to get back to, instead of worrying about, like, I knew we were losing money, right? I knew that there was this leaky, this hole in the boat, and we had no way of plugging the hole. This plug the hole, so now I can do the things that I really am good at, right? I can spend time with prospective franchisees. I can look at what does it look like to grow, because it would have been a nightmare to try and grow the franchise system without this technology. Like, so huge shift for us, and the way in which it'll support all the future stores and those members is just, I mean, it's a game changer completely.
So it sounds like it's giving you leverage, and you built all of this yourself. That's the incredible bit.
Every piece, I mean, not myself, but with the support of AI. And it's just been, I mean, I have a talk that I do now called AI is your co-founder, because literally it feels that way to me, right? It's an emotional, like, as much as people, there's some judgment around AI sometimes and whatever, it has allowed me, like, when I built the technology, it's not like, God, this is even hard to verbalize. It's not just like a plus 1 + 1 = 2, like this, right? It's not like that. It's like, I can't even tell you how many times, 10 hours, 15 hours, extracting what's in my person, right? Well, the way that I think, the way that I naturally show up for our members, the way that I serve them, the way that I want us to hold space for them as they're navigating cancer, as they're navigating a death in their life, as they're navigating, like, all of the things that our community is about, right? I spent several sessions extracting all of this stuff out of me and getting it into, right? And it is the technology is.
So how did you, when you say I spent hours extracting, what, paint more of a picture of that? What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I it's like having a conversation with it, right? Like it was my co-founder. Like, if you and I just sat down and you were to say to me, so tell me, how do you serve your people? How do you, right? How do you this? I would spend hours just talking through and having it ask me questions about, what would I do in this situation? How would I say, what would I do in this scenario? What would we, how do we, what does the process look like for this, and this? What is the, and the beautiful thing, not only did that support the infrastructure of the technology and what our culture is built on, but it also, we were able to, then I have SOPs, right? I have documentation. I have all of these other assets from those hours of, like, right? Because founder dependency is the biggest freaking problem that we have, right? Like, the more that they have to rely on and depend on me, which is funny because, being raised by two people who were the first ones there and the last ones to leave, that was the value that you had, right? And I've known for a long time, since I was little, like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to, right? I value and support what they built and the ways in which they did it. But also, I want to empower other people to do these things so that I can, you know, be anywhere in the world and running the business, or having somebody else run the business, or, you know, whatever that could potentially look like. So there is no other gift bigger than having AI support me with founder dependency, right?
Wow.
Like, how do I remove myself from these things? How do I not be? And that also was a big part of my identity, right? Like, as a woman, I want to be needed in this, and I want to be the one that solves this problem, and I want to be the one that, right? Like,
You'll suffer with that.
No, that is not it, girl, right? Like, you got to shift that thinking. You got to change that whole process. So I really have trained it, and we, you know, it definitely has been a co-founder game changer for me. And just the way in which we have a conversation about, and I don't ever have it build anything. And sometimes it's like, it doesn't build anything at all. Like, sometimes it's just me having a conversation with it so that it pulls out of me, right? Like what I'm, and then systematizes what I didn't know was actually a system that I'm doing, or right. Like, so it's been really amazing to have that experience and to use it in that way. And I don't know that a lot of people do it quite like that. And I think it's even it helps me think about how I can be a better leader, right? Like, how I train my team is better than it was before, because I'm thinking about it differently, right? I record a lot. I use Plot, and I record a lot of my conversations, and after the conversation is over, I upload the transcript, and I'll say, tell me what I did really, really well. Tell me what I did, what it was a complete epic failure, and how I can improve, right? And then what are the patterns, right, that are there that work really well, and what are the patterns that don't work really well based on this these goals, right? I mean, so that also has been huge for me in terms of the way that I speak with a real estate agent when we're looking at property, the way that I, you know, all of the ways.
For every aspect of your business, you go through this extraction process. So just for women who are either familiar with AI or just not, just to give them a nugget, do you have a tech stack that you use? Because you mentioned Claude. Are there any other products and stuff that you tend to use that is like your go-to tech stack that suits you and your business?
Yeah, so I actually have, I'm a big fan of ChatGPT also. And I have a team of 7 custom GPTs that I built. So they're like my, you know, they're my, like my board, or like my team. Like, one of them operates like my chief of staff. I have a meeting, her name is Atlas, and Atlas and I have a meeting every single Tuesday at 9:40. And I built Atlas because I have shiny object syndrome, and like, you know, it's easy.
You're not alone. You're preaching to the converted on that one.
It's easy to get, you know, distracted when you don't have guardrails around what it is that you're doing, and you're kind of charting your own course. It's easy to get distracted by something that isn't important, but yet we all still know, like, what is the big end result here? What is the goal? And so I built her as a way to keep me focused and dialed in. So in 20 minutes, once a week, right, we call it the CEO reset. So I'll hop on and say, Atlas, it's, you know, Tuesday at, you know, it's July whatever, and we're doing the CEO reset, and she'll ask me, right, these sets of questions, and I go through and answer the questions, and she's like, okay, based on that, these are the things, and you don't do anything else until you do this, and this. And she gives me a lot of pushback, because I'll say, and this happened last week, and then this happened, and then this thing, and she's like, nope, we're not doing that, you're not doing that, you're not doing that.
I love that.
So so I built, you know, 7 different, they're so valuable to me, they're so helpful, and I use them all in different ways. And then the other cool thing is that then I will bring them into, like, we might call it like a war room, right? If I have a big, like when I was planning on coming into Phoenix, into the market to look at, right? Okay, and one's a capital strategist, right? One deals just with the expansion side. One is really like amplifying my voice and kind of like being, right, so there's all these, they all have these different roles, and they're very, very specific. And so then I'll just pull them all into a room together and say, okay, guys, like, here's what we're working at. The same way that if I had a team, of other humans,
You
like,
put them into a boardroom and it'd be like, right, let's strategize, guys, what we're going to do.
yeah. Absolutely, for a founder who doesn't have a budget, right, to have a team of 7 other humans who are, amazing and wonderful, it has been an absolute game changer, because they are thinking about, this is their thing that they're thinking about, right? This is their thing that they're trained to keep focus on.
Yeah.
So when we bring them all together and we talk about, like, here's what we're doing, I get multiple points of view to put through my own filter and go, like, gosh, I would have never remembered that, or I would have never had that on my radar, or right. And it has changed my life. So that's what I use, ChatGPT for a lot, is those custom GPTs. And then I'm using Manus. And actually, Manus was a recommendation from another, Justin Burns is in the AI space. I respect him a lot. And so I started to play with it. And I'm now teaching I have one of our team members that was in store, actually just recently moved to Argentina and stayed. I had her staying on with us virtually. And now I'm having her use, Manus to do some things. And so it's just, it has doubled or maybe tripled what our capacity is for a tiny team with a tiny budget that is now, like, I think you and I had said this, like, the thing that I love about it the most is that it levels the playing field for small businesses, right? Like, so in a sea of these large, conglomerates or these big franchise systems, and we're getting there, right? I'm not quite there yet, but we're able to compete with them in a way that we never would have been able to do that before, both because of the way that I think, right? And how I think differently, the access to information that I have that I didn't have before, and the strategy, right, in which we're deploying, and then the sheer magnitude of work that gets done that I'm not having to do myself.
The speed, because that, I think, where AI really holds its own, where it's so it's valuable in all of the ways you just described, but if you manage to leverage it to help you monetize, the speed at which you can move is just changes your trajectory, that what you could have done any other way. So no, I love that. So before we wrap up today, what you're doing, the category creation, the fact that it's sustainable as well, so it's environmentally friendly and it's a movement, and what you're doing, how you've leveraged technology as well to sit underneath it. What really moves me about it is women are going to be most impacted by the fact that it has arrived. So that's why I do the show, because we need more stories like this, so other women can see that if you get over your initial fear and start to learn how to use AI, it can leverage you in ways. And as a lot of people see young people out there just flying off with it, and yes, it's for them, but I really think it's also for women like me who are over 40, who have years of experience and all this domain expertise, and then when you put AI underneath it, it's like a rocket launcher.
Absolutely. Preach, sister, preach. I absolutely I couldn't agree more. And when you told me that you were doing this, I feel like it's just genius, because yes, we need to not be afraid of what we can do with it, right? We need to be willing to try the things, right, to play with it, to actually not just intellectually learn, but experientially learn. It is the opportunity for somebody to come in, even if they're unsure, and here's a step-by-step way with other women who you could trust and that are real, that can say, this is actively how I'm doing it, this is what works for me, and it might help you too. And then you might develop your own way of interacting with it, or using it, just because you tried the things that we've already tried and that we like.
What the vision is over here is that I would love to create a library and ask guests to leave something behind for the audience that they could go away and try. What would be the thing that you think gives you the greatest leverage at the moment that would be valuable to share with other women?
Yeah, it's teaching them how to have that conversation. It's conversations before creation, right? Like
Love that.
really getting allowing yourself to be in a space where you're a little vulnerable, right? You're willing to share some of the things that maybe you haven't even reflected on before, and let it look at what are the patterns that you're just like a rock star at, that you're either not naming or that you didn't name, or let it challenge some of the biases. You think you're doing this and this well, but it's like, well, actually this might be a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, let it, I always go into it thinking like, I know, let it knows more than I know, right?
Yeah.
And having kind of that humble approach,
Mm,
because it has access to things that I don't have access to, that I've
yeah.
not experienced, that I didn't know, that I haven't read, that I haven't, right? And so when I come at it from I don't know all the things, right?
Yes.
It opens me up to getting this feedback and or these thoughts that I wouldn't have had. So I think teaching women how to have that conversation and how to
Mm,
teach it to be a co-founder for you, right? Teach it how to
yeah.
support you in that way. Co-founders don't just really great co-founders, right? Don't
Mm,
say yes to you. They
right.
they
They
push back,
challenge you.
right?
Yes.
They say, that doesn't feel quite right
Mm,
to me based on what the goal we're after, right? Or that doesn't,
mm,
and I think also, right, just doing enough of your own work that when it does, one of the biggest, and we've kind of talked about this too,
yeah.
one of the biggest challenges with the LLMs is that they're very like supportive, right?
Yes.
And but teaching it that's not what you're not
That's what
helping
we
me by
want.
doing that. That's not what I'm looking for
Yeah.
with you. And then I think sometimes when it does do that, I'm pushing it back and say like, no, that's not what I want. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, so I think just giving them permission to play and
Mm,
to like have that conversation. I'm
yeah.
very rarely going in and telling it to create something without having a conversation around, should I even be creating this first, right?
Right.
And if I
Right.
am, why are we doing that, and what is it for, and how is it, right?
Mm,
And it's even simple things like, I was working on some sales related materials the other day, and what
mm,
if I had just went in and said, create this, like giving it the structure,
yeah.
we would have gotten a pretty good result because it's trained
Yeah.
pretty well. But
Yeah.
because I did the conversation first,
Yeah.
my God, the piece that we have is freaking just brilliant.
Yes,
It's
I am.
so good. So yeah, I think it's just that foundation is such a part of how I interact with it. It just is, I can't encourage people to do that enough.
So it sounds like you get it to take you layers into yourself.
Yes.
It's not doing any thinking for you. It's pulling it out of you, and it's getting you to go, not that surface level idea that you had, but let's see how many layers deeper we go. I love
Yeah.
that.
And it takes longer, right? I get it. It takes longer to do
Yeah.
that. But I will tell you what the results that I get from that
Mm,
is so much better. And the training that then I'm able to create, both
mm,
for myself, for my team, for our in
yeah.
our sales part, like all the things, it's massively better
Yeah.
because of going through that process and extracting that information. I mean, I was thinking about like corporations prior to any of this, the AI wave and technology and all of that, like corporations. I don't even think that there is like CEOs of large corporate, they don't go through these processes. They don't sit down with their team and have
Mm.
their team extract like
No,
makes them really good at what they do. They just execute, right? Like
exactly.
they don't, or the team is then creating SOPs based on blah, 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 right? Like,
Mm,
and that's okay. But
yeah.
what if they really did so, like, it's just, I don't know. It's a
Mm.
very different
It's a different approach, isn't it?
experience, and it gives like, and then you can be, the information that you're extracting is then able to be used in all, you can
To
create
create
products from it,
assets, right?
you can create systems, you can create documents, I mean, there's a lot that can be done
Mm,
with the information that you're extracting out of yourself, that then you can look back and it mirrors it to you, and you're like, my gosh, that's super cool. I didn't even realize that when I'm coaching someone, I'm doing this, right? Or that, yeah, I don't know. It's really, really, really
I'm with
powerful.
you.
So
And I love that, because it almost comes full circle to what you said earlier, where you had that really powerful moment when you said, you know, what does it mean for me not to be in the business? And this seems like a way that you sort of extract you and everything that made you build this business and actually turn it into things that support the business and allow you to allow the business to grow beyond you, but still always have a piece of you, if that makes sense. And
absolutely, absolutely. I run this. I know we're trying to wrap up. I just had to tell this one little story really quick.
okay.
I run this mastermind with a group of women once a month. We meet, and I was working on teaching them some of these things, and I had them go through this process. I have this process about having it find your blind spots before you create your custom GPTs. So that was the goal, is we were going to create some of these custom GPTs because I wanted them to have the same experience that I was having with mine. And one of the processes that I went through was to ask it to show me my blind spots, right? And to go through this. I had this whole prompt for them to give it, blah, blah, blah. And when we got together to share it, before we started creating the custom GPTs, these women were like, holy shit, like it was kind of like I didn't really want to hear this, but you know, like it was really, really they were like, how did it know that I do this? And how did it know? And not in a weird, icky kind of way, but in a like, these are your patterns, bitch, and you don't even know that this is what you're doing that's causing some of the problems that you're causing. And so we now need to build someone on your team that's helping support you in that, not letting you go this whole other way, right? So it's a really valuable process to go through when you're creating, you know, if that's something that you want to do. You can't just create it based on here's the result I want. It needs to know where you normally try to dodge and where you normally try to, right? Like, so it was just really funny to watch their reaction. They were like, it was a little uncomfortable to see, like, and how and it was like it was accurate, right? There was very, very little that it was as long as they had been using it enough for it to give them, you know, feedback.
Then they get accurate feedback. That is amazing. It sounds like you get it to hold a mirror up to you.
Absolutely. And it is uncomfortable as hell if you're not ready. Yeah. I can't wait until you continue to build this library, because as you were talking about the idea, I'm like, absolutely, I want to be a member and I want to have all access to all the things, because it's so genius and so brilliant. I want to know what other women are doing and how they're using it, so that I can also get, you know, access the gifts that they're, you know, I think the more that we share those things with each other, the better we're all going to be. So I think, you know, I will be your first subscriber.
Want an AI co-founder to challenge your thinking and sharpen your priorities every week? Get the Emily inspired session at aipowerwomen.com.